Welcome everybody, Film Fan 108 here to my Blu-ray pickup video for September of 2020. Yes, I know this is incredibly late, guys. I apologize. I have been massively busy. So much stuff to deal with, so much stuff going on, other videos taking priority. I am back on the pickup videos, however, and hopefully the train is going to continue to roll. But this time I got a very sweet stack to talk to you guys about. So let's get into it, shall we? With the very first title that I picked up, and a Severin title at that, and that is none other than Forci for Fake. Yes, look at this with the exclusive lenticular cover. Very nice. And on the inside, just the regular artwork as well. Very nice. Now, if you watched the August pickup video, then you guys know that I got a huge Severin package in the mail. And this was actually supposed to be in that package. What ended up happening is that I guess this release got a little bit delayed, so it wasn't in anybody's packaging, and they had to ship it separately. Okay, cool. I love my Fulci, so it's worth the wait. Now, this is not actually a Fulci film, it's actually a movie about Fulci. Basically, it's a documentary on Fulci's life and his career and the ups and downs that he had to struggle and deal with, and just sort of testimonials from the people around him. And, you know, what's really interesting is that basically the documentary takes the angle of this actor who has just gotten cast as Fulci in a fake biopic, and he has to go and research Fulci and research who he is, and he goes out and he interviews these real people. People who have worked with Fulci, people who are close to him personally, his daughters, they're interviewed here as well. And it's all from the perspective of who Fulci is, who he was, what kind of man he was, how did his life shape him, and how did these movies shape him, his career, and they just run the whole gamut. Now, this is a really great Fulci documentary. Seriously, it is phenomenal, man. As somebody who is a Fulci lover, as somebody who really appreciates Fulci, as somebody who has really evaluated his work, and as somebody who is diving into everything Fulci, seeing this really opened my eyes to the guy. And just seeing, how he was with coworkers versus family members, how he was with men versus females, what happened in his life to make him that way, and also his career, the ups and downs. And it was just so phenomenal to watch, and I got to know a lot more about the man personally, and I appreciated the stories that these people told about Fuji. Because look, they're very honest here. People go out of their way to talk about Fulci as being a womanizer. They talk about him, being somebody who was really, honorable to them and such a nice guy. And some people going out of their way to say this guy was a complete and utter creep and just a slime ball. And so you get two different contrasts here. And the daughters are also really honest here as well. They love their father, they love the man, but at the same time they do see the faults, and they do see that he dated a lot of women, and how some of the women were better than others. And it's very honest and very truthful, and I appreciated every single second of it. At the end of the day, you get two different versions of the man. What's the real truth to the whole story? Well, it's probably somewhere in between, to be honest with you. It's still an amazing journey of a documentary, and I feel like I've gotten to know Fulci more. I feel like I've appreciated him more, and to me, Fulci is one of my favorite filmmakers of all time. He slowly has become that through all the movies that I've watched of his, and just diving into the man, the myth, and the legend, especially dealing with this movie, documentary. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. So for me, this was an awesome, awesome film that I truly appreciated, and I'm so glad that Severin got the rights to this to release it. It's such a wonderful, wonderful addition, and if you're a fan of Fulci, this is definitely a must-watch by far, man. Now, you get here a lot of really great features. You get here extended interviews from a lot of the people that were involved here. You get, interview with the director, talking about why he chose to do the project, Fulci films that he loves, diving into all that stuff, plus so much more. It's a really, really great, phenomenal documentary, and I love these documentaries about these very fascinating individuals, and you think you know everything about them, and then you realize that you have so much farther to go, and you don't know as much as you really think you do. And this is one of those ones that's extremely fascinating, and for somebody who loves Fulci, going down this rabbit hole was incredibly worth it, man. So if you can find a copy of this, I'm pretty sure it's probably out of print, or at least close to it. But if you can find a copy, do it, because it is so beyond well worth it, man. Really, truly is amazing. As a Fulci lover, such a great diamond to have in the collection. Not half bad, guys. If you're a Fulci lover, very much beyond worth it. Fulci for fake. And the next pickup that I got, guys, is one from MVD, and that is none other than Max Reload and the Nether Blasters. Yeah, baby. Look at this beautiful, beautiful slip, man. That artwork, awesome, dare I say, man. And the same on the inside as well. Oh, that artwork, man. Pure awesomeness. Now, this was kind of a gamble for me. Okay, truly was a gamble, because I remember when MVD announced this, and I was just loving the artwork so much. I was like, I don't know if the movie's good, I just know I love the artwork, and I gotta give this a chance. So, I ended up actually watching it first before actually buying it. And I had a blast with this movie. Basically, this movie is about these amateur gamers who work at this video store, gaming store, and led by Max. Now, Max is very sure of himself, very cocky, overconfident, and he accidentally unleashes this curse that is taking over everybody, and him and a bunch of his friends have to come together to try to defeat this ancient evil before it infects everybody. Now, this was really, really fun, man. Seriously, it was incredibly fun. Some of these more modern day takes on gaming, I don't really get into. I'm just not a big gamer anymore. Back in the day, way back in the day when I was a kid, I was gaming like crazy. I had a Nintendo, I had Super Nintendo, I had friends who had Sega. I'm an old school gamer. I'm not the PS5s of the world, I'm not that guy. I'm old school, man. But what this movie really was a great nostalgic time capsule of sort of old school sort of action adventures 80s style movies and gaming, and it felt retro, and that's what I really loved about it, man. And it worked completely for me. I love the characters here. They're quirky, they're likable, you can invest in them. I thought the storylines were really great. It's fun, it's imaginative. I like the bad guy here. I like how it's sort of this ancient evil that has survived all these years and now has infected this video game. And what a perfect way to actually spread your evil across the world is by putting it inside a video game. Like, what does most of the world actually play is video games. So it's like the perfect way to spread ancient evil all over the place. fantastic. I thought the jokes were really funny. I thought the action, even though it is kind of cheesy and very low budget, I think they pulled it off the best they possibly could. With little money they had, it does work, man. And some really great cameos, recognizable people in here, like Kevin Smith. Kevin Smith does a really great cameo as sort of the gaming store owner, and it's kind of reminded me of a very quirky, funny, old school Kevin Smith, man. Not sort of the Kevin Smith we get nowadays, a little bit more older school, and I really liked it, man. I thought it was fun. I thought the gameplay was really fun. I thought the old school effects were really cool. It had everything going for it, man. It reminded me of old school sort of 80s game stuff like The Wizard or War Games. Stuff like that, man. It's tongue in cheek. It doesn't take itself too seriously, but I think it has I think this movie knows what it is. I think it's not trying to be anything other than that, and I think it's just trying to have fun and be a unique gem that reminds you of those old school flicks from back in the day. And I think it really does work, man. So for me, Max Reload and the Nether Blasters, even though it was a gamble, the gamble actually paid off, man. So pure nostalgia, but so awesome, man. And you know, as somebody me that I love the '80s, this right down my alley, man. Now, MVD did a really good job here. You get a bunch of featurettes about the CGI, certain sequences within the film, really well done. On a low budget, they talk about, you know, basically penny pinching and making the most for their dollar. They definitely did go out and do that. You get an audio commentary here, original theatrical trailer, and more. Really great one from MVD, man. Again, I understand sort of people who maybe are a little hesitant on some of the newer school movies, the lower budget stuff, or things that just rely on nostalgia. Because sometimes you kind of hesitate, I'm not sure about this, but this one really works. And I was surprised, like I'm sure a lot of people were, but honestly, it's pure fun and it really paid off, man. So I really love it. So happy that I gave this a chance and hope you do too. Not half bad. And that cover, oh, that cover got me, man. So awesome. Max Reload and the Nether Blasters. And the next title that I picked up, guys, is a release from Warner Archive Collection. And man, wow, man, I really do love this movie, man. It's been a one I haven't seen in a while, but man, Warner Archive, man, come in for the win, I'm telling you. Oh, man, good times watching this. And that is none other than Michael, baby. Oh, man. Good old Michael. I love that with John Travolta and then the dog there with the feather in his mouth. Awesome. Awesome, man. Wow, man. Blast from the frickin' past, dude. So, okay. I saw this in the movie theater with my mother. Alright, now you have to remember around this time frame. I think it was like 96, 97, somewhere around there, I believe. Because this was sort of the John Travolta renaissance in a lot of ways. I mean, this was his comeback. You have to understand that John Travolta was like the big time guy at this point. He had Pulp Fiction, and Pulp Fiction brought him back in a big bad way. And then through the late 90s, he was doing a lot of really great stuff. Movies like Phenomenon and Michael, and he was sort of back on the map again. And it was great to go to the movie theaters to see this with my mother. It was awesome. And basically it's about these two tabloid reporters who are basically they're basically crack reporters. I mean, they report like the fake stuff, like, oh, you know, a woman had a baby by like a bat boy or something. I mean, some bullshit stuff that you see in like the grocery store. And basically, the owner of that says, "Look, you guys are screwing up too many times, and you know, if you don't get this next story right, if it doesn't hit out of the park, you're done. You're out of here." And the story is basically this old woman writes a letter to them saying, "Hey, I'm living with a real life angel." And so basically, okay, with this, we're gonna try to work on this. What is this? It's probably fake, a scam, but we gotta work around this. We're gonna deal with this. And so they go and they find out for themselves. And what they find is that it's really an angel. Like, this guy's real. The wings, like, pure white. He is a goodness gracious, swear to God, actual angel. And they're stunned by this. They're a little bit skeptical still because they just don't quite know what to believe here. And honestly, John Travolta in this movie is not exactly like the most angelic angel you've ever seen in your life. I mean, this guy is out of shape. He smokes like a motherfucker. He loves women and loves sex. He is not your quintessential angel character. And God love him. I love that about the movie. Love that so much, man. And so basically he's like, look, I will come back to, I believe Chicago with you. I'll come back there. We'll do this. We'll film, all this stuff, take pictures and everything. But we are going to go on a road trip. And what they don't realize is that this road trip is sort of a journey for them as much as it is for him. And it's such a really awesome movie. It's so well done. It's so funny. And the characters are really well drawn and very likable. And you get to know them and understand them. I mean, great acting talent here. Like I said, John Travolta, but you have William Hurt, you have Andy McDowell, you have Bob Hoskins. Everybody has great, hilarious moments, fun, heartwarming moments as well. You get to understand them and you get to have fun with them. And especially with the Michael character. And John Travolta is living this movie up. Like, he's having a fun time playing this character. You could tell. You could tell when a character is having a fun time with a role. You really can. There is times where, sometimes they're having a terrible time and it still comes out great, but you can tell when an actor is really loving a role and just eating it up. And with this character of Michael, John Travolta is absolutely doing it. I love there's scenes where like there's like a bull or an ox all the way down, and he's gonna headbutt it because he wants a battle. And he's like, battle. And they're like, no, my Michael, don't do that. And he doesn't listen to him, and he battles them anyways. Or like when he's in this bar and he's enticing all the women to come with him, and they're all falling in love with him. It's so great. John Travolta is having a ball with this role. And when an actor is having a ball like that with a role and having fun, I'm having fun watching him having fun. And that is what this movie is, man. It's got a great talent. It's got a great, unpredictable, because you don't really see it coming, this love story that really is very genuine and heartfelt. You have some great messaging at the end about faith and about finding, somebody, there's still love out there in the world for you, even though you have heartache. There's still some really great stuff here. And again, it's also directed by Nora Ephron. And Nora Ephron actually, she passed away, I believe, a great, wonderful female director. She directed, I believe, movies like Sleepless in Seattle and You've Got Mail, and she was a really great romantic comedy director. Really knew how to really tell the genre in a really sweet and wonderful way. And Michael is one of those really amazing films. It's funny, it's heartfelt, it has dramatic moments, and at times it really tugs at your heartstrings. So, man, I'm so glad to own this in the collection. Now, this does not come with any special features, unfortunately. I wish it did, but just to have the movie in the collection, and I hadn't seen it in such a long time, and it was just as much fun now as it was when I was back in the theater with my mother enjoying it. It is a really great John Travolta movie. Maybe it's not one that everybody talks about, but maybe they should. It's really well done, and John Travolta playing a dirty angel, man. lives it up, man. God bless his heart, man. When he does a really great role, he does a great role, and this is one of them, man. Not bad at all. Definitely give this one a look. I love this movie so much. Not half bad. Michael. And the next pickup that I got, guys, is some Scream Factory love, and that is none other than The Tenant. Very nice. Look at that, man. There is an apartment for rent. It's up to you whether you want to get it or not, but it might be the difference between life and death. You know what I'm saying? Oh, baby. A little Roman Polanski goodness here. Now, I've never seen this movie. But I knew about it before the announcement from Scream Factory ever happened. And the reason why is because I remember long time back on the Bravo channel, they aired a 100 scary movie moments. And it's one of those really great sort of 100 like top 100 list that people watch every October. They love it. They eat that shit up. And I've watched it God knows how many times. And one of the movie moments is from Tenant. And it's Bruce Campbell really talking about the movie and talking about how kind of weird and out there it is, but how it's really fascinating. And I was like, wow, okay, this is something I gotta look into. And when Scream Factory announced it years and years later, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's the one from the movie moments. Yeah, okay. And so I recognized it. Now, watching it is really unique and interesting, and I can see why it's as fascinating as it is. Basically, the movie is about this young guy played by Roman Polanski, and he rents out this apartment. Now, he basically, like, when he takes the apartment, there was some sort of tragedy that's happened in the apartment, but that's all kind of in the past, and he's gonna make it his own. But he realizes that the neighbors and the people in his building, he kind of feels like he's being watched, or they're not exactly on the up and up, or they're doing very nefarious things. It's kind of very seedy, and he doesn't quite know what to think about it, and it's kind of driving him nuts. And that's kind of all I'll say about it. But it's a really unique and interesting dramatic horror film. The movie's not going to be for everybody. And the reason why I say that is because it is a slow movie. It is a slow build. You know, there is a lot of movies nowadays with horror that's very like quick, fast paced, keep it going, keep it going. And then there's movies where it's much more slower, it takes its time, it's more psychological. This is one of those movies, and I know it's not going to be for everybody, I get it. It feels very long because it is long, but the performances are fantastic here. Roman Polanski is great in the movie. He also directs the movie, and this was at a time when Roman Polanski was the Roman Polanski. Because you have to remember, he had done Chinatown, he had done Repulsion, he had done Rosemary's Baby at this point, so he was like the guy. And, you know, people want to see what he was going to do next. And so this was highly anticipated and based off of a book which I didn't even know it was until I was watching the special features. So, you know, it was definitely something people were looking forward to. I don't think it really delivered as far as people were hoping because it was so different from something like a Chinatown or a Rosemary's Baby. It didn't really capture people's attention at the time, but it slowly, I think, has gained more love over the years, become a little bit more appreciated. But I just really love the neighbors here. I love the neighbors and how, from a certain point of view, yeah, you can't trust them. I mean, look, I live in an apartment complex, guys. I don't know any single one of my neighbors. I don't know a single one of them. Yes, I've talked to them from time to time. Yes, I've said hello to them or good morning or you know have a good night or whatever. But I don't know them. I don't know what they do in their daily or nightly lives. I don't know whether they're serial killers or they do pagan rituals or what. I have no fucking clue. Not a goddamn idea. And they don't know the same about me either. I mean, apartment living can be very dangerous and can be very risky, and you just don't know what to expect. And with this guy, you know, he's just going around and he just feels like people are watching him, or like people are trying to push other people out, or trying to maybe they're like evil, or maybe they're satanists or ritualistic people, and so he's just, it's continuing to like gnaw at him, and you don't know whether you're going crazy, whether the character is going crazy, whether both of you are going crazy. You literally have no idea, and it's just the psychological aspect of it and trying to figure that out, man. It's very unique, very interesting. I really did enjoy it. It is an old school cinema. It is a slow burn, but it is very, very well done in my opinion, man. And honestly, I'm still trying to figure out the movie to this day, because even watching it, like that ending, like the ending is really good and it's very haunting, but it's also, you're trying to figure, I'm still trying to figure the movie out in my head, the ending. Like, what did the ending mean? How is it connected? Like, I kind of got it, but not completely. It still kind of messes with my head, man. And there's imagery in here that you don't know, again, whether it's real or it's in his head. It's all kind of all over the place, but that's sort of the beauty of the movie. It keeps you guessing, and I think that's the best part about it, man. I really did enjoy it, man. It's not for everybody, but for somebody like me who's an old school horror fan and can deal with a slow burn approach to horror, this is fine for me. I'm cool with it, man. But you get here a new interview with Roman Polanski, and I'm so glad they actually got one with Roman Polanski. I'm actually kind of shocked they did. But he talks about the book to film adaptation. He talks about that time in his career, certain aspects that he wanted to do with this movie, the differences. Really fascinating one with that. You also get a new interview with the assistant cameraman, an interview with the script supervisor, a look at the locations, a new audio commentary with film historians, which is a really great one because they really dive into everything Polanski, but not only that, but the film itself, the differences between the book and the film, Polanski's, his intentions, the reception to the film. They deal with it all. Great one there. Audio interview with the writer, and the writer is really honest and truthful about the things he likes about the movie, the things he disagrees with the movie, the things that the movie improves on. Really great stuff there. You also get an audio interview with the screenwriter and theatrical trailer as well. Such a really fantastic movie, guys. Really, really well done. Yes, Polanski in his personal life is kind of a scumbag, but truth be fair, he makes really great movies, man, and The Tenant is one of them. I mean, again, it's not one that we normally really talk about with Polanski, because we talk about the Chinatowns and we talk about the Rosemary Babies, and rightfully so, because they're great films, but sometimes the ones maybe that are lesser known deserve a little bit more love, and The Tenant is definitely one of them. Creepy, apartment, slow burn horror. Not bad. If you're up for it, this one is very intriguing. Not half bad, guys. The Tenant. And the next pickup is more Scream Factory love, and that is none other than Stephen King's Graveyard Shift. Yes, look at that. I love this cover, man. With sort of the skull there, with sort of the worker's hat on. Ah, oh, so good, man. So great art, man. Some of the best art for some of these Stephen King flicks, I tell you, man. Boy, oh boy, I haven't seen this one in a really, really, really long time. It's been a very, very long time, and even rewatching it, man, there's a lot of things I didn't even remember about this one. But this is all about basically the workers in this small town who are working in this sort of underground area, and they are just overrun and infested by rats. Like, my God, man. Like, it's like, Jesus. It's like you need more than an exterminator. You need a fucking poltergeist to get rid of these motherfuckers. Holy shit! And basically, something is killing the workers. It ain't the rats. It's something much bigger and very pissed off. And it's basically about these ragtag group of workers that are trying to survive against this thing and trying to find out what the fuck it actually is that's attacking them. Oh Lord, man. This is a really unique and interesting movie, man. Now, mind you, when this came out, again, we are in a Stephen King renaissance at this point. You have to remember because basically everybody wanted to film anything Stephen King because again, at this point it was like, okay, The Shining came out, made a shitload of money. Pet Sematary came out, made a shitload of money, and they had done all these adaptations, Christine and all this other stuff, and it's like, oh my god, you know, if we make a Stephen King movie, we're practically printing money here. Damn, dude, of course we're gonna make a Stephen King property. Are you kidding me? Why wouldn't we? And so they just optioned whatever stories he had, didn't matter, man. And this is one of them. Now, is it top tier Stephen King? Is it top tier Stephen King movies? No, it's not. I'm gonna be real with you. It's not. Maybe it's sort of middle range Stephen King, I would say, because look, it's not in the same league as Pet Sematary. It's not in the same league as The Shining or even Christine and a lot of these other ones. But at the same time, it is solid Stephen King. I will fully admit that, man. It really is. Now, look, as far as the rats go, man, I am not a fan of rats whatsoever. I remember actually, I got transferred to a different store one time for my job, and they told me, they said, "Oh yeah, we've found rats, at that location," and I'm like, what? Rats? You're kidding me, right? No, we actually found rats. In fact, we found one that was the size of a dog, and I'm like, uh, uh, come again? I'm like, what? And I'm being transferred there? Oh, wonderful. Ah, man. And then we also, my mother and we lived in an apartment once where we were overrun by rats. And we had to put out a bunch of these traps and everything. And so I'm telling you guys, I have personal dilemmas with rats, man. So for me, this was like it was like ooh, good lord, man. So that was incredibly effective. And then the weird sort of monstrosity creature, this weird sort of hybrid between a rat and a bat, and it was really kind of unique and interesting. I like the horror aspect to it. I like the killing. I think the killing is really cool. And every time there's a killing, you get to see a little bit more of the creature. You get to find out a little bit more until the final where it's like really revealed, man. It's really cool. I do like that. I thought that the horror aspects were really cool here. The characters, some really likable ones and some really slimy, unlikable ones. But that's sort of Stephen King for you, though, isn't it? Because you're always going to get that great balance between people that you really like and people that you really hate. And this does have it in spades, man. Especially the foreman or the manager of these workers. Like that guy is a real piece of shit, man. He's just always sort of very sweaty and slimy to these women and the workers and just takes advantage of people, and it's just you just wanted that guy to die, man. You're like dude, fucking die already, you motherfucker. like you were like, dude, you waited for his death, man. But there's some really great characters here, and it's old school horror, man, with sort of the creature in the big old suit and the old school special effects, and they just don't make them like that anymore, man. I mean, nowadays you get this big CGI monstrosity thing, which is cool, but it kind of takes away from it a little bit. I did enjoy it. It was fun. It had good horrific moments, tongue-in-cheek characters at times. it was pretty good. It's not, again, top tier Stephen King, not even close to being top tier, but it's about middle and average. And honestly, still, middle and average Stephen King is still way better than a lot of other horror out there. So this one, even though it's not beloved, I think it's still pretty decent, honestly, and not half bad. I definitely enjoyed this one. Now, you do get an interview with the producer slash director, and he is honest. He worked on other Stephen King adaptations like Pet Sematary, and how him working on this film and what he wanted to accomplish, and dealing with the difficulties of this fucking gigantic rat bat creature suit that doesn't fucking work, and it's great, man. You also get an interview with actor Stephen Mock, an interview with actor Robert Allen Booth, an interview with actress Kelly Wolf, and a theatrical trailer as well. And the interviews with the actors and actresses are great because they are really truthful and they're really honest. And they loved working on the movie, but they realized what it was, which is a cheesy horror flick, man. But they talk about working with the rats and just how it was just so. I mean, they knew they weren't diseased, but it was still like when they're wet and they're like just oiled up and everything, they look just really like, ugh, you know what I'm like? It's great. It's great interviews, man, and what a very unique and interesting Stephen King film. Look, man, I fully recognize that all Stephen King is not created equal. I get it. I understand that there's a lot of really good Stephen King, and there's a lot of really crappy Stephen King. This is not crappy, nor is it the best. It's middle range. And you know what? I will take middle range Stephen King any day of the week. Not half bad, guys. Hope you enjoy a little rat infested goodness. Ugh. Graveyard Shift. And the next title I picked up, guys, we're heading back towards the Warner Archive collection with a one that, my God, man, I haven't seen in such a long time. Really, when they announced this was like back in the VHS days when like my mother would tape stuff on VHS, man. Damn, hadn't seen this one in a long time, but I do remember it. Really good, and that is Claras Heart. Man, Claras Heart. Damn, man, this is old school, and I truly do mean that because I've told you guys before that my mother and father would tape movies on VHS, and I would watch them. It didn't matter, action, romance, comedy, horror, drama. It was all the same, man. I watched it all, and Claras Heart is one of those. And it's a really great movie about this young boy who, him and his mother and father, they lost their baby sister, and basically the family is just devastated. The mother has checked out, and he is just completely just not responsive to anybody or anything, and just is a loose cannon. And you know, the mother eventually goes on vacation and she meets up with Clara, played by Whoopi Goldberg. And, you know, they get on very well, and she basically says, hey, can you help me? Can you come back to the States and sort of, you know, kind of be my maid, but also look after my son and just, you know, be there when I can't. And she does. And at first, this sort of young boy doesn't really like her, doesn't want to deal with her, you know, he's just not interested in wanting to even interact with her, considers her an interloper. And slowly but surely, they grow this really great bond and camaraderie, and almost like a mother and son relationship. It's very heartfelt, really fantastic movie, really love it. Whoopi Goldberg is fantastic here. I mean, it's movies like this and The Color Purple where you really are like, wow, she is a really great actress. And yes, she's really good at comedy. She does comedy well, but when she wants to do a very, really dramatic role, she can. And she'll be great at it. And Clara's Heart is one of those really great movies about that. And also, Neil Patrick Harris. Yes, that's Neil Patrick Harris, guys, because this was the very first thing that Neil Patrick Harris was ever in, okay? A lot of you guys found him through Doogie Howser or Harold and Kumar or How I Met Your Mother. No, motherfucker. I found him first through Clara's Heart, man. That's where I first saw Neil Patrick Harris, and he is young in here. In fact, really, honestly, he is unrecognizable. I mean, at a young age, if you didn't know that was Neil Patrick Harris, that would just pass you by. You would not think that was him, man. He was really young in here, and he does a really great job here as well. He can play tough, he can play vulnerable, very heartfelt. He has the emotional range. You can see why Neil Patrick Harris has went as far as he has in his career, because he is that good. And the same with Whoopi Goldberg here. It's a really great story with really great characters here. Really awesome. Kathleen Quinlan is in this as well. She's awesome as well. Everybody does a really great job with the story. Is it as powerful as a movie like The Color Purple? No, because The Color Purple is freaking awesome, and Steven Spielberg is a great filmmaker, and it was never going to touch The Color Purple. But what's really important here is the story of two people who couldn't be more further apart, but yet are more closer than they could have ever possibly imagined. A little white boy and an older black woman, and the differences, but yet also the similarities in how they grow to really care and love for each other. It's a great story. The acting is phenomenal here, and I remember really loving this as a kid and really being very touched by it and crying because I felt so moved by it, and it's the same thing now. It hasn't changed. In fact, if anything, my love for this movie has grown even more. Truly, it has. It's an awesome film, and it's got no special features on this, but honestly, to just have it in the collection, and I haven't watched this movie since the VHS days, so it's been a really, really long time. But to finally have it in the collection is awesome, and I'm going to cherish this one for sure. Such a really, really great, heartfelt, dramatic movie. So well done. If you love Whoopi Goldberg, Neil Patrick Harris, just a really great, heartfelt tale. This is well worth your time, and not half bad. Really well done. And thank God for Warner Archive Collection for putting this out, man. Boy, sometimes they truly save the day. In this case, definitely did. Awesome film, man. So glad to have it in the collection now. Clara's Heart. And the next title that I picked up, guys, is a Code Red release, and that is none other than Messiah of Evil. Yes, very nice, man. Nice little cover right there. Terror you won't want to remember in a film you won't be able to forget. Very nice indeed. Now, actually, this has been out of print for a really long time, and the eBay price is, up the ass, man. So much money that they're asking for this title, and I'm like, I'm not paying that type of money. I'm not doing it. I mean, it's a movie that I was interested in for a while, wanted to get, but I am not going to pay those eBay prices. That just is not happening, man. No fucking way. So when it got a repress, that's when I was a very, very happy man indeed, man. I will forego those eBay scalpers any day of the week with a little diabolic DVD goodness. Absolutely, man. Those eBay scalpers can go to hell as far as I'm concerned, baby. But this movie is basically about this woman who gets these very disturbing letters from her father, and she just doesn't know what to make of them, and she's very scared for what's going on, and she tries to go to this town to find out what's happening with her father. And when she gets there, these people are, there's just something wrong with this town. Like, these people are like, they're kind of catatonic, or they're just not acting right. They're like zombies almost. And at night, these people that are seen very docile, they turn sort of rabid and ravage and almost, want to eat you and kill you. And, there's interesting sort of religious aspects to it as well. I mean, it's an old school 70s movie, to be fair with you guys. It's your typical, women going to this town. They're getting manipulated by this guy. They have a little sex. They get naked. They get terrified, and there's a little horror action. I mean, it reminds me of sort of cultish horror in a lot of ways, like The Wicker Man and stuff like that, but a little bit more like sort of zombie-like sort of craziness to it, where they're actually eating the people, and you know, you can see some of the killings. Most of the killings do happen off screen, where some of them you have to basically, you know, project sort of, you know, your imagination into what's actually going on. But you know, the acting is decent here for the 70s. It's pretty decent. There is kind of like a little cheesiness over the top, but again, it's 70s horror. What do you expect, man? The women are good looking. I like the story. You know, it's it's an average movie. It's effective enough to be worth it, but it's not as memorable that you're gonna remember it. It's one of those ones where it's sort of the sort of average middle range 70s horror flick. And you know, there's some stuff from the 70s uh like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre, or as I said, Wicker Man, or The Exorcist, and other films that sort of broke out of that sort of, you know, sort of B movie drive-in horror to be something a little bit more effective. This is not so much that. It's average. I like the horror aspects to it. I like, you know, the fact of this sort of sleepy town really becomes sort of mad in the nighttime, and you have to watch out for yourself, and you don't exactly know what's going on, and the mystery of it. I like that. It's just effective enough. It's not perfect, not by a long shot, but I think it is decent, and it's a worthy enough 70s film. I mean, there is some really stupid moments at times, and I will be fair. Like, there's a moment where this woman gets into a car with this guy, right? And, like, and I gotta love it. Back in the day, in, like, the 70s and whatnot, I'm like, my God, people were so trusting back then. God damn it, dude. Where she gets into this car, and this guy clearly is weird. I mean, he's not right. You can tell. And she's just going along in this car because she needs a ride. And eventually he has a bag and he takes out a fucking rat. He takes out a rat and he starts to fucking eat the rat. He's eating it. And she's kind of a little weirded out by it. But she's like, well, he is giving me a ride. So, okay. Like, she just goes along with it. And I'm like, lady, I would have been out the fucking car door immediately. I'll jump my ass out. I'm cool with it. Like some of these characters just go along with really stupid things. And certain things where you're like, boy, you should have gotten out of that situation like 5-10 minutes ago. I mean, like I said, it's old school 70s horror. It is what it is. It's not perfect, but like I said, it's decent and effective enough still to be worthy of a watch. And if you love old school 70s stuff, it is worthy in the collection as well. I mean, you do get an audio commentary by the filmmakers, and they do talk about the low budget. They talk about their intentions with the movie. Really great commentary. You also get a featurette remembering Messiah of Evil, which has more of the cast and the filmmakers, crew really talking about, you know, them sort of making this movie, being sort of in the drive-in theaters, getting ripped off of money from distributors. Very interesting stuff there. You also get short films as well from the filmmakers also. It's good. The 70s, as far as horror films, to me, were kind of always a little bit touch and go. Some are really great and others are just average. This is average, but it's decent enough that I still really enjoyed it, and I still really like it, and it is still worthy of the collection. Not half bad if you like old school 70s style horror. Very interesting. Not half bad at all. Well, you know, for a little naked, horrific goodness. And who doesn't love that, really? Messiah of Evil. And the next title that I picked up, guys, we are switching back to Scream Factory, and I am so happy to have this in the collection. Oh my god, it's the first time ever. But goddamn, it's a horror anthology that so needed a great collector's edition, and I'm so glad it finally did. And that is none other than Tales from the Dark Side. Yes, look at this wonderful, beautiful slip, baby. This is really nice. 4 ghoulish fables in one modern nightmare. Fantastic. And on the inside, that old school art. Oh, so cool. Look at that. Oh, so awesome, man. So great. And speaking of great, man, this movie is awesome, man. Oh, Lord. I love horror anthologies. I mean, you guys know that. If you guys have been around the channel long enough, seen other Blu-ray pickup videos, you know I love horror anthologies, man. They are some of the best. Yes, there is some shitty ones from time to time, like, you know, a Creepshow 3, but hey, you know, few and far between. There's a lot of really great ones out there, and Tales from the Dark Side is one of the best. And actually, in certain circles, it's actually known as Creepshow 3, or the alternate Creepshow 3, we'll put it that way. It's great, man. And the reason why was that a lot of the people from George Romero's sort of filmmaking world was a part of this movie. And so it almost felt like an extension of George Romero himself. And it's such a really interesting tales, and the gruesomeness of it, just the great horrific moments, everything is so awesome here, man. I mean, basically it's about this little kid in this wraparound story that is basically is about to get cooked and eaten, and he's stalling by telling these stories from this book, and it sort of goes into all these ghoulish tales that he's telling the stories from. It's so awesome. And I mean, the first story is basically about these college students, and this one sort of unearths this mummy, and sort of the horrificness of once the mummy sort of wakes up, which is really great. The second one is of this black cat that will not go away and is looking for revenge. I love that one. And the third one is actually my absolute favorite. It's my favorite out of all of these ones. And it's basically about this guy who gets confronted by this monster, this like gargoyle monster. And this gargoyle monster says, hey, look, I will let you live if you never speak of me ever. Like, you've never seen me. This never happened. And he's like, okay. And eventually this beautiful woman sort of comes into his life, and just the luck that he has. And basically he has to try to avoid telling her what happened, because if he does, something bad is going to terribly happen to him. Really, really bad, man. But all of these stories are great. Like I said, my favorite is the sort of gargoyle monster love story, because I love the design of the gargoyle. I always loved that, of like having a secret hidden and not being able to tell anybody. And when you do, sort of the consequences of that. That's really great. And I will also say the Black Cat story has gotten more appreciation from me over the years, especially rewatching it now. I didn't find it so great when I watched it when I was younger, but now I've actually loved it even more. And all the stories are really wonderful, and so is everybody involved, all of the actors and the filmmakers. Everybody really, really does well to make a really effective horror anthology. I mean, they were already doing great anyways, because, you know, from the Tales from the Dark Side TV series, which was really effective, and people really came away really loving that stuff, so why not make a movie on a bigger, grander scale? And it works, man. It works so wonderfully. And to me, it's on par with like a Creepshow or something like that. I mean, I think you could watch Creepshow and Tales from the Dark Side back to back, and it is just a really great, wonderful night of fun horror anthology. And that is what this is, man. It's so well done. The creature effects, and the music, and the storytelling, and the editing, and the acting. everything. And what's really fascinating in the special features is they talked about how they were rearranging this movie. Like originally they had the gargoyle story as the first story, and they had the mummy story as the last one. And how it really didn't work. Audiences were not that really engaged after such a really great story in the first tale, and how they really switched it around. And when they did, it exploded, and people really loved it. And you know, I look at Tales from the Dark Side, and I look at Creepshow, and I look at other ones, and I say this is the blueprint. This is the template for how to make an effective horror anthology. And if you follow these rules, you're gonna be successful, man. And this is truly one of those movies that, to me, has stood the test of time because of how great the stories are, how great you get to care about these characters in such a short time span, and how just a really great fun ride it is of a horror anthology. And it works. It really does, man. I mean, you get here new interviews with the director John Harrison, producer Mitchell Galen, and more audio commentary with John Harrison and co-screenwriter George A. Romero. Now that, of course, is an old school commentary, but it's so great to hear them talk about this. And again, another reason why this horror anthology works is because of George Romero helping to craft the stories, being the screenwriter. I mean, he knows horror anthologies clearly, and he knows horror, and having his sort of great horror intellect put into this project, it definitely shows, man. I mean, you also get theatrical trailer, TV spots, and so much more. This also, with the interviews and everything, it has a really great sort of multi-part making of documentary, and they go through the making of every single aspect of the movie, the wraparound, each of the stories, the pre-production, the post-production, the release of the film, and so much more. They talk to a lot of people, even some of the actors from each of the stories. So well done, man. And it's such a unique story, just as far as the actors are concerned. Even the first story, like a young Steve Buscemi in there. Oh my God, man. Christian Slater. So many great talents in here. It's such a really well done horror anthology. There's not much more to say. It's just that this is one of the gold standards of horror anthology. It really truly is, man. And I remember, and the reason why it stuck out for me, and I remember so many years later, is because of the stories and how effective they were. I mean, that gargoyle one, I remember for years, I would talk with Bob about that, and we would talk about it, and when we talked about it, like, we just knew what we were talking about. I knew when he was talking about a gargoyle thing that I knew what movie he was saying. I didn't have to ask him what movie, because I knew what it was. And sometimes the best movies have those memorable moments that stick with you. And Tales from the Dark Side is one of those movies that truly does, man. It's a great horror anthology. One of the best. Truly it is. And as far as a horror anthology lover is concerned, can't be beat. This one, awesome, dude. Definitely get up on this one. Horror anthology, goodness, baby. And collector's edition that it so richly deserves. Awesome indeed. Tales from the Dark Side. And the next pickup that I got, guys, is a Blu-ray from SRS Cinema, and that is none other than Garden Tool Massacre. They never had a chance. I just wish that I had a chance to erase this from my memory. Alright, guys, so, yeah, look, the cover is great. Clearly, the cover looks kick-ass, amazing, awesome. You know, anybody, if they were in a video rental store or anything, would pick this up based on the cover alone. Easily, right? That doesn't mean that it's good. Oh, okay, so the movie is about basically this killer who breaks out of the mental asylum, mental hospital, and basically is on a killing spree. And it's these these sort of people within this neighborhood who have to survive the killer and sort of take him down. That type of movie, right? Now, this is shot on video horror. And I have tried. I have seriously tried to get into shot on video as much as humanly possible. And I remember last time talking about Frankie and his pals and thinking to myself, oh my god, this is going to be terrible. Like, Frankie and his pals is going to be really bad, and I'm just going to be turned off from this completely. And honestly, Frankie and his pals turned out to be a really pleasant surprise. I mean, it's fun, it's funny, it doesn't take itself too seriously, it's very tongue-in-cheek. And so I thought, oh wow, this is really cool, man. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna go give Shot on Video a little bit more of a chance. Frankie and his pals kind of maybe redeemed Shot on Video a little bit. But I think the reason, well, first of all, the reason why this doesn't work, okay, is because it's incredibly boring. It's slow and it's boring, and you're just checking your watch waiting for something to happen. Like, clearly, there is literally, and I kid you not, there is a 5-minute stretch in this movie where one of the main characters is making toast, taking a phone call, and watching TV, all within a 5-minute time span. But in that 5 minutes, there's nothing essential in the story. It's just literally taking up time for taking up time's sake. That's it. I mean, literally, like, the first 5 or so minutes when there's like the first killing that's going on, it's so slow and it's not really all that dramatic. The music isn't really effective. The editing is just kind of dull. And I'm thinking to myself, like, this has to get better, right? I mean, it can't be this the whole film. And yeah, it is the whole film. I mean, the death scenes are not that well done, not that well choreographed. It's the acting, even though it's shot on video and I know it's cheap, I mean, it can still be good somewhat, and it's just really terrible. Just the pacing of the movie is it's all boring. It just really it's almost like they just tried, really just tried. Okay, we're gonna try to do this and to take up as much time as possible. So okay, put the toast in the oven, and then there's a phone call. Talk about that for a minute or two, then take the toast out, and then put the butter on the toast, and then sit down and click on the TV, and then it's trying. The movie's trying to be like Carpenter. Okay, the movie's trying to be like Carpenter, and it's trying to be like all these effective horror films. And look, I think what makes Frankie and Pals, for me, so good, right, is because it was tongue-in-cheek. It never took itself seriously. It understood what it was, and it said, look, we're goofy, we're ridiculous, we're over the top, we know it, and we're cool with it, and we're just gonna have a fun ride. And then there's movies like this, right? There's movies that literally, I understand why these movies are made, right? Because these filmmakers, they're inspired by the Carpenters of the world and the Cravens and the Romeros and everything, and they are just enamored by them and love them and are influenced by them and want to make pictures like them. Unfortunately, they're not Carpenters, they're not Cravens, they're not Tobe Hoopers, they're not George Romeros of the world. And unfortunately, if you're a good fan of cinema, if you study film and are somebody who wants to get into filmmaking, study those movies. Studies what makes those movies work. And yes, there might be a slow pace to it, but those scenes are essential. There's something in those scenes that make it work. The music and the editing. I mean, I do skits and stuff for some of the reviews, guys. You've seen them before. And I'm not a master filmmaker. I'm very amateur at best, but I know the idea of pacing. I know the idea of music. I know the idea of basic everyday filmmaking that people should understand. And you can make something low budget and it can still be effective. This just wasn't, man. It was just a really just waste of time. It didn't make me pissed off. It just made me frustrated that that there's a good idea within this film, and it just gets drowned out by just a lot of cheapness. It's really unfortunate, man. It truly is. Look, at the end of the day, man, I'm sure there is some shot on video horror that's really good. I'm sure there is, man. And I don't want to hate on shot on video completely, but I just feel like maybe as far as I'm concerned, maybe shot on video is not for me. Maybe like the Frankie and his pals of the world, maybe those are the ones that I gravitate towards. Ones that are not meant to be, taken seriously, ones that, are meant to be a little bit more goofy, but they know what they are. This tries to go to be something a little bit more of like a Carpenter-esque with like the stalking scenes, almost like a Halloween movie. But you're never gonna be Carpenter, and they fall short incredibly. This thing was just a real just bore fest. It really was a complete bore fest, and I know that a lot of you out there that are gonna defend shot on video are gonna say, "Well, that's not all the genre. There's some really great ones out there, but if a lot of them are like this, then man, I'm gonna stay away, dude. Honestly, seriously, I'll just stick with Frankie and his pals and all the weirdness and craziness of that movie, and just stick with that. Garden to a Massacre and movies like it, man, they have good intentions, but boy, do they fail. Seriously, man. I mean, you get here a director commentary, and God love him, he loves the genre, but he's made, in my opinion, he's made a piece of shit. It really is that bad, man. I mean, when I'm bored within the first 10 minutes, and I know what I'm in for the rest of the film, I'm just like, I'm trying to put like tape over my eyes, like fucking Clockwork Orange or something. I'm like, oh, I'm just like, keep me awake for this, because I don't know if I can otherwise, dude. Damn, like this movie is if like you're having a hard time sleeping at night, watch this movie, because boy, you will fall asleep fast, man. This is a cure for staying awake, man. And you will fall your ass asleep. Shit. I wish this was better, but goddamn, man. I don't know anymore about shot on video. I don't know, man. I'm at a crossroads. I really am, dude. I mean, give me some suggestions, but boy, if it's like Garden to a Massacre, I am gonna stay away, man. Seriously. I tried. God love me, I tried, Lord, but this, no way, man. Sorry. You just don't fit the bill. Great cover art, shitty movie. Garden to a Massacre. And the next title that I picked up, guys, is a DVD of Widow's Point. Very nice. Their ghosts are waiting here. Yes. Very nice with the slip right there and the really great artwork also. Now, this movie is directed by Greg Lamberson. Now, I'm actually friends with Greg Lamberson on Facebook. He's a really, really great guy. Really, overall, a solid filmmaker. I've liked some of his films before, and so I want to go out of my way to try to support these people and give their films a chance, because, yes, we talk about some of the big name directors all the time, and they deserve a lot of love, but so does some of the smaller ones who deserve it just as much. And so basically, this is about basically Craig Schaefer's character of Thomas, and Thomas basically is this sort of novelist author who has kind of been away from the game for a while, and he is going to basically do a story about this haunted lighthouse. He's going to spend a weekend at this lighthouse. He's going to experience everything there is to experience. He's going to document it, and then he's going to write about it. And then everything just goes horribly wrong, man. And just all the madness and craziness that happens. Now look, I gotta keep it real. Because even though Greg Lamberson is a friend on Facebook, and I absolutely respect him 110%, because I truly do, I gotta be honest about my thoughts, and I did not really care for this movie. I really didn't, because when I was watching the movie, I didn't really. I mean, there's a great idea here. The great idea is about this haunted lighthouse and the ghosts that inhabit it, and talking about the stories of some of the people that have died in the lighthouse and how their ghosts still resonate, and how, people who are in this lighthouse go mad. And there is good things in this movie. I mean, Craig Schaefer is amazing in this movie. He's great. Like, he gives it his all in this role. When he's going crazy and mad, you believe it. He's likable, and then at a certain point that sort of turns, and he's sort of figuring out what's going on with the lighthouse, but yet at the same time the madness is starting to take over. So there is good things here, but he's the best as far as the acting bunch is concerned. The rest of them are very much amateurish, I should say. They come across in the film like some of them actually are acting in the movie as it's kind of like a goof at times. Like, there's some people I was like, wow, they're acting in a different film than what this movie is, because this movie comes off as a very creepy horror tale, and they're acting as if they're in almost like a slapstick horror movie. There's a couple people that are like that in this movie, and I'm like, ooh, yeah, it kind of takes away from the film. And also, I thought, and I know the budget is low here. I know the budget is low, but it comes off very amateurish as far as the special effects are concerned, or even like the way that the film is edited and the music. It felt like it didn't quite gel together the way it needed to. You know what I mean? That's really what it came across as. And even though it's a good story, there is something that happens at the end of the movie that turns this movie from a ghost story to almost like an alien flick. And I thought it was so not needed at all. Like, I was really turned off by that. I was like, wait a minute, you've been going along with this ghost story, and I like the story overall, and then you completely do a 180 and do some sort of weird alien thing, and I was really taken out of the story. And at that point I was like, you lost me completely. Like, you kind of had me, even though I wasn't feeling some of the actors, and even though some of it feels a little bit, amateurish and comes off not as professional as I wanted it to be, I still was kind of going with it. And then that happens, and I'm like, the rest of it, done. I'm gone. Like I said, it just feels like they tried their hardest, but it just fell completely flat, man. I mean, basically the sets feel like they come out of a stage play. They're not effective at all. The special effects are, unfortunately, kind of fall a little bit short. The acting at times comes off as amateurish, and it feels like Craig Schaefer is kind of, I mean, he's a great actor anyways, but it kind of like, you're showcasing how good he is, but it doesn't help that the other actors aren't really doing as good of a job as they should. There's a lot of things, unfortunately, that are kind of going against the movie. I still like I still like Greg Lamberson's directing abilities. I still think he's a really great director. Like, I really love movies like Johnny Gruesome, which is really good, or Killer Rack, which I think is fucking amazing. I think Killer Rack is funny, and it's cheesy, and it's over the top, and it's hilarious. It's great horror comedy. But as far as like serious dramatic ghost story tales are concerned, with such really great movies that are out there in the world, I mean, even like John Carpenter's The Fog, or great stuff like The Conjuring or stuff like that. I mean, I know those are bigger budget movies than A Widow's Point is, but at the same time, if you're gonna do it, you gotta do it effective. And if you're not able to pull it together with the resources, then maybe it's a tale that's better left to put towards the side for the time being until you're able to make it a little bit more effective. Like I said, I love Greg. I think he's a great guy, and I don't want to shit on him, but I just felt like this movie is ineffective in a lot of ways, and it didn't connect to me the way I really wanted it to. No hate. I'm just being real and just being honest, man. So, I gotta be. I'm not gonna shortchange you guys and say that it's good when it's not, at least to me. So, is it still worth checking out? If you like ghost stories, yes, it is still worth checking out. But go in with checked expectations. I went in with a little bit more, and I think that might have been why I was a little bit more disappointed than maybe I would have been otherwise. Put it that way. I mean, you do get alternate takes. You get behind the scenes, deleted scenes, which the behind the scenes is really cool. I mean, because look, they're coming together to make a movie. This is a low budget crew coming together to make a movie. They're passionate about it. You see the passion. You see them having a fun time on set. There's great camaraderie. It's great. I love seeing that, and it means that they had a good time making this movie. It just, unfortunately, the end result didn't quite work the way I wanted it to. And there's an audio commentary, and Greg's always great with his audio commentaries. He does a great job. He's awesome. He speaks well, talking about the movies, the intentions, working with Craig Schaefer. The book and what do you want to do with the film. A lot of really great stuff here, but unfortunately, the movie just fails, and it's a real shame because I love ghost stories. I love ghost stories so much, but it just felt that they didn't have enough resources, and the film just couldn't come together the way that it needed to. It's a great idea, but if it can't come together well enough, then it just falls a little bit flat for me, and this does. It's a shame because I love Greg, no hate, but I gotta keep it real, and I'm gonna do that, man. So, unfortunately, as good as the cover is, film didn't quite deliver. That happens. Widow's Point. And the next pickup that I got, guys, is a Blu-ray of porno. Okay, look, I know what you guys are thinking. I know it immediately. You guys are thinking to yourself, you're saying, oh, of course. Seth got a porno. Of course he did. No, you're wrong. You're wrong, guys. I didn't get it. I did. I mean, not normally. I kid. I didn't get a porno, guys. I swear, okay? This is a newer horror film that just so happens to be called porno. Okay? So, yeah, this is presented by Fangoria, and I had heard about this through Facebook. And it seemed really interesting to me, and the cover art here is awesome. Look at that. That is cool cover art, man. Dare I say, that is pretty damn cool, man. And I think it sells the movie pretty well, dare I say. Now, this movie is about these teenagers that are working at this local Cineplex in this small, sort of very conservative town, and it takes place during the 90s. Now, how do I know it takes place during the 90s? Well, because they're playing a double feature of Encino Man and A League of Their Own. So, yes, clearly it is in the 90s. And what happens is that they're left alone, and they find this sort of reel of film. And they're, what is this? This is unique. So they play it, and they realize that it's some sort of, like, I don't know, ritualistic summoning porno movie. Like, they're like, there's nakedness, and they just don't show just the taco. They also show the pickle too, just so you know. Everything is equally proportioned here, whether you like it or not, man. So basically, once that film is played, there is this succubus, this female succubus that is unleashed, and she is trying to to lure these people and kill these teenagers through sex, whether it's their deepest and darkest desires, showing a little skin, you name it, she goes for it and tries to get each and every one of them. This is, man, it was really fun. Seriously, it was very fun. I was not expecting how much I was really going to love this movie, and I truly did. I thought the characters were really, really fun here. I mean, they're your stereotypical teenagers. You know, there's the jock, and there's the jokester, and there's the over sexualized kid, and there's the female heroine, the survivor girl, and there's all those, but they play with those concepts pretty well. And by the way, this is not a straight up horror movie. This is a horror comedy. And it shows. They play up the comedy in a big bad way. And what I love about it is that they take the idea of this ultra religious, ultra conservative town, these teenagers who are very religious and by the book, and it takes sort of that sexual repressed world and opens it up with this female succubus and her titillating skin and her sort of enticing them with their deepest darkest desires. It's really nice. It's a really cool. I love the blood and the gore here, and let me tell you something, man. They go out of their way on this one, baby. And I'm serious. Like, there is a scene. Let's just put it this way, man. Uh, if you were ever looking to see what somebody's dick would be like if it was kind of like smashed in, well, now you're in luck because porno, it shows that, as well as it shows some really other very gnarly and interesting special effects and gore effects. I thought the female who played the sexual succubus demon did a really great job. Doesn't really have any major speaking part. She's just very much there as sort of a desire for the people. But I think it's the characters that make this fun. I think it's sort of a cool sort of play on sort of horror cinema and them being in a movie theater and sort of talking about horror movies and religion, and it sort of takes the piss out of it, and I really like that. I mean, and there's some really cool sort of horror posters that are in the basement area. Like, I love seeing a poster for Orgy of the Dead and some of the other really cool ones, man. I mean, this worked. It really honestly worked, man. And I was shocked because I thought, oh man, okay, like it's gonna be sort of like almost like a succubus version of like Demons or something. Like, that was in the movie theater, and that sort of a sort of not taking itself so seriously at times, but yet still being a horror film and having the horrific elements. This worked. It really did, man. It's fun. It's got some great gore effects. The characters are likable. And it's got a great sort of very incredibly hot succubus, man. Damn. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm a straight-laced guy, but honey, you can take me any day of the week. I swear to God, I will go down into your lair. You can do whatever weird sexual fantasies you want to me. I am your slave. I will do whatever, man. This is great. It's got some cool demon effects in it, and it's just a fun movie. And I gotta admit, sometimes with some of these horror films nowadays, not as fun as you'd like, but this one really fit the bill. Now, actually, crazy enough, I ordered this through Amazon because it's not really well known that this movie is out on Blu-ray. I actually contacted Cranked Up Films that is releasing this. I contacted them on Facebook and I said, hey, when is this going to be available on Blu-ray? Like, can I pre-order it through your site? Do you have a link? Is there, whatever? And they never got back to me. They saw the message, because I know they saw the message, and they never decided to get back to me. And I sent them a couple messages, and they decided not at all. They weren't even going to respond to me. So I went out of my way to find it through Blu-ray.com and Amazon to try to find myself a copy. And I'm so glad that I did, man. It is great, man. And I love this tagline. They unleash an alluring succubus who gives them a sex education written in blood. I love it. Love it, baby. And it's really well done. I don't think it's a movie that many people know about. I think it's going to be one of those movies that definitely flies under the radar, but I think the people who watch it are going to have fun with it like me. It's a good one. It is one of those good ones. I swear, guys. It is really fun and well worth your time. And that cover art, man, says it all. So good, baby. It was a gamble, but it was one that proved to be very well worth it. A very interesting sexual succubus horror comedy. Not half bad. Definitely worth it. Porno. And the next pickup that I got, guys, we are actually heading towards Arrow Video with the comic. He's a real cut up. Oh, brother, baby. Oh, baby. With the limited edition slipcover right here, very nice. And on the inside, the wonderful artwork for the comic. Really beautifully well done. I like that quite a bit, man. Now, let's get into this movie, shall we? So, you know, when Arrow Video announced this title, right? I have never seen so much hate for a title or even for Arrow Video than I saw when people started commenting about this. Whether it was the Facebook comments, whether it was the comment sections on Blu-ray.com, it didn't matter. Like, everybody was hating on this movie and literally hating on Arrow Video at the same time. You know, comments like, God, this is the worst movie of all time. This is absolutely terrible. This is like garbage. And people hating on Arrow Video, like, you should be ashamed of yourself for releasing this. This is pure trash. Like, why would you do this? Like, who had to pay you to release this piece of shit? Like, seriously, like, people were really hating on this movie and literally spitting hate right towards Arrow Video. I had never seen anything like it, man. And you know, people going out of their way to saying this was the worst movie they've ever seen, like pure shit. And well, I mean, you know what I have to do, right? I mean, I have to buy it. I mean, that was just the way that I have to go about it, guys. I have to see it for myself, man. I mean, if everybody else is saying it's trash, I might like it. So why not give it a gamble, man? Now, basically, this movie is about this dystopian police state future where the poor are just barely getting by, barely surviving, and the rich, of course, are living it up. And you know, some people are just trying to find their big break and to make it through. And that's what Sam is trying to do. He's trying to make his big break as a comic. Nobody is trying to help him out. Nobody wants him. And he literally has to kill in order to get his big break. And of course, he gets the fame and the fortune. But as we all know, fame is a very fickle bitch. And there's a lot of complications that come with that. And living in a dystopian police state, well, they don't like people who break the rules. And Sam, he has a little trouble staying close to the rules. Oh, man. So, I went in with the lowest of expectations. I mean, the lowest of low expectations. Seriously. When everybody was saying it was complete shit, I was sitting there like, okay, this might be. But I'm going to take the gamble. I'm going to buy this. And I really enjoyed the movie. Seriously, I really did, man. I mean, it's not a perfect movie. I mean, not even close to being perfect, man. But there's something about it that I really liked. It was just weird enough and just bizarre enough that I was able to find it somewhat charming, somewhat amusing, and a real oddity to watch. I mean, I think the acting here is okay. The acting here is less than stellar. It's not really all that great. I mean, they're not exactly award-winning thespians. And at times, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, well, you do realize that community colleges do have acting classes, right? I mean, you do know it. Like, just giving you a few pointers, man. But I mean, it's the acting's not that terrible. I mean, the guy who plays Sam does a really decent job. I mean, he plays angry, he plays sad, he plays humiliated, humble. He's an unpredictable character, and you don't quite know where he's going to go from scene to scene. But I think that's part of the fascination of it. And there's a lot of other actors in this piece, character wise, that does some really weird things in the movie. And for me, sometimes the weird stuff is oddly charming and kind of amusing, and that's what this is. It was really, really well done. Not gonna lie, it was well done just in the fact of just how weird and bizarre it was, and I was just fascinated by it. That's really what it was about, man. And the other unique thing about this is that there's times in this movie where it almost feels like a fever dream. Like, seriously, it's like you don't know whether you're inside Sam's head, whether it's reality. You don't really know. And so it's very surreal, very dreamlike. Sometimes it's a little confusing, but I kind of liked that actually. I liked sort of this sort of dream nature of the movie. It worked for me. Now, something I found really great and something that I've noticed in low budget cinema at times, like that those old Ed Wood movies that I've noticed, is that when you have a very cheap movie and you cannot spend a lot of money or you don't have a lot of money to spend, you just put in a shitload of fog and dry ice. Seriously, there are times in this movie, I don't care whether we're outside or indoors, there is a shitload of fog, guys. Seriously, there is a ton of fog, man. And I can just imagine the director being like Christopher Walken in that SNL sketch, being like, I got a fever, and the only prescription is more fog. Like, seriously, he is he is just pumping fog into every single fucking scene. Even when there's no need for fog, it's like we're just pumping in more fog just for the sake of pumping in the motherfucker. I guess it adds more ambiance. I don't know, man. I mean, there were some weird choices in this movie. Whether it was the jokes, whether it was people's weird acting. Like there's one guy who's introducing the comics and he's trying to be funny, but he comes off very cringeworthy. Was he meant to come off as cringeworthy or was that the actor's choice or was that accidental? Was this whole movie accidental? Like, what is going on here? I gotta tell you, this movie is weird. It's bizarre. It's low budget. A lot of times it doesn't make a lick of sense, but there's something about it, and I can't quite explain it, that I really loved about this film. Truly, seriously, there was, man. I thought there was something really uniquely odd and weird about it that attracted me to it. Seriously. It's hard for me to explain, but I really enjoyed this movie, man. I know I may be one of the only people in the entire world that actually kind of like this movie, but the gamble was actually kind of worth it, man. And as far as Arrow Video goes, man, give Arrow Video some credit because they do a couple of interviews here with the main actor, a select audio commentary with the director, which is really interesting. And actually, with the director, basically what he said was that they actually had built the film around another character. And what ended up happening was that there were some issues with the actor, and they weren't able to completely sort of nail down the story, and the actor didn't want to really go down that road that the director wanted to, and so they had to reinvent the entire film in a very short time span. So give the director credit, but I have a feeling that this movie wasn't meant to be the way it actually is. It was supposed to be something entirely different, and it ended up being what we got, which might have been, I don't know, maybe better. I guess we'll never know, man, but it's really oddly unique, really oddly interesting, and I really enjoyed it. Seriously, man, it's one of those movies that really doesn't make any kind of sense, is really odd, and but at the same time, to me, oddly enjoyable and fascinating. I know it's so weird to say that, but it really is true, man. And I gotta say, it has a great line to it here. It says, if you ever wanted to know the answer to the eternal conundrum, how does Pinocchio make love? Then this is the one for you. If that doesn't say it all, I don't know what does, guys. This is an oddity for sure, but I'm just glad Arrow Video still releases these weird, odd, obscure titles. I don't care if they get a lot of hate, man. You know, sometimes certain movies deserve a lot of love, and this one, maybe not a lot of love, but some love. I can't say this is a cult classic, but, well, it's something. And, hey, at least I get to experience it, put it in the collection now. It's not something for everybody. But hey, it's for me. Not half bad. The comic. And the next pickup that I got, guys, is a limited edition Blu-ray release of American Rickshaw. And look at this really, really great limited edition slip, baby. That is sweet, sweet art. And on the inside, speaking of really nice art, that ain't half bad, man. That's pretty sweet. Very nice, dude. Very, very nice indeed. And this actually comes from Cauldron Films. Now, Cauldron Films is a new physical media company that is putting out these interesting and sort of forgotten gems. A lot of very unique and interesting old school movies. And some of you guys have actually told me about this company and have actually, you know, said, hey, look, this company is putting out some cool stuff. Maybe you should look into it. And so I did. And I was like, okay, I'm going to give it a chance, man. A new physical media company, a little bit of love. Not half bad, right? So now, man, this movie. God damn, man, this movie. Whoo! God, let's talk about this sucker, man. So this movie is about this Miami rickshaw runner who gets tricked into making a sex tape. At the same time, he is also embroiled in the murder of a televangelist's son because he takes the wrong tape. He's trying to take the sex tape. He takes the wrong one. So now this assassin is going after him falsely. And so he's got to deal with that. He's getting help from this Asian witch who has some sort of like spiritual connection with him. At the same time, the Asian witch is embroiled in a battle with the televangelist played by Donald Pleasance, and there's this curse, and they're some sort of weird artifact. Like, what the hell is going on here? Like, seriously, me trying to tell you the plot lines, my head's about to fucking explode, guys. Seriously, there's so much going on in this movie, and it's an absolute clusterfuck of ideas and storylines and characters, and it's just weirdness, and it makes literally no fucking sense whatsoever. But goddamn, was it cheesy fun, man. I mean, this is cheese. This is pure 80s you know, sexual exploitation, action, unintentional comedy gold, man. Seriously, it is, man. I mean, the acting here is is really like pure cheesy 80s. It really is, man. I mean, these people, they're trying to come off as tough, but dude, it's laughable, man. It's really laughable. The chicks that are trying to be sexy, I'm like, do you know what sexy even is, man? I mean, even Donald Pleasance. Even Donald Pleasance playing the televangelist, man. Give Donald Pleasance a lot of credit. Because Donald is, dude, I love Donald, man. I mean, Dr. Loomis. Of course I'm going to love Donald Pleasance, man. He's great, but I mean, he's playing this televangelist, and he's at this sort of church and with these people and the cameras, and he's like, "Oh, the Lord, loving the Lord, and I breathe in His air. I breathe in the Lord's air, and we need money from you all. We need money. We need money for groceries. We need it." And I'm just sitting there. I'm like, "Oh, preach, Donald, preach the good word, baby." I'm like, "Oh my God." Donald motherfucking Pleasance, man. Jesus, he is spewing pure 80s cheese gold all over the place, man. God bless his loving heart, man. And this is just a great slice of just 80s excess. And it really is, man. I mean, whether it's the clothing, the short shorts, the big hair, I mean, my God, man, it literally is like a time capsule of just 80s cheese. It literally feels almost like they're trying to be like, an episode of Miami Vice. But they don't even have the fucking budget of a Miami Vice episode. So I mean, they're not even able to pull it off, man. I mean, the action here is cheap and cheesy. There's just so much like unintentional gold here. Seriously. It really is. I mean, there is some cool stuff though. I mean, there is some really cool special effects with the Asian witch stuff. With sort of some cool things with like, some of the stuff that happens to the assassin, and like there's this spiritual cat that is somehow able to uh, sort of see through the lead character and influence events. I don't know what's going on in this movie. Seriously, like there's so many things here that don't make any sense whatsoever. And they I think what they were trying to do is they were trying to make something really unique and really interesting, right? At the end of the day, they just were. Okay, so they're literally there, and I can only imagine like the director and the screenwriter having a meeting, right? And they're saying, "Oh, well, we're gonna make this movie about this guy who's embroiled in the death of the televangelist's son, and this assassin is going after him. No, hey, this is a really cool little action thriller movie." And the director's like, "Yeah, but we kind of need something else, right?" And the screenwriter's like, "Uh, no, I don't think we do. I think we're cool." And he's like, "No, we need something more, man." And what about if we had this like witchcraft stuff with this ancient artifact, and like she's connected to the American, and he's like, and the director is like, "Just say yes." And he's like, "Yeah, yes, if it's gonna get made." Like, it's like literally, it's like throwing spaghetti at the fucking wall. Like sex tape, murder, weird televangelist, Asian witchcraft. Like they just like literally like threw a fucking darts at dartboards, and that's what they got, man. Oh my fucking lord, man. I mean, this movie was from, I believe, 1989. So, truth be told, this is like 89 is one of those at the height of like the 80s excess. Like it was full on, like, you see see the sort of tight 80s clothing, you see the big hair, the the 80s soundtrack, like, just every like cheesy bad 80s thing is a part of American Rickshaw. And yet somehow I actually really enjoyed it. Swear to God, like I was sitting there like this thing is ridiculous. It's crazy. It makes literally no sense. It's a complete and utter clusterfuck. But somehow it is oddly charming and oddly unique, and the nostalgia factor for the cheesy 80s I just loved. I really do. I don't know if it's just me being an 80s fan and I found this oddly satisfying, but I just sat there saying, "Oh my god, look at those fucking short shorts. Look at the clothing. Look at what they're wearing. Look at what they're saying. Oh my god. They actually thought this was good shit in the 80s?" I'm like, "Oh my god, man." Like, there is. Look, this movie doesn't age well, dude. Seriously. I mean, there are some really great movies from the 80s that age extremely well, like Fine Wine. And then there's movies like this that feel like it was buried in a time capsule, and then somebody took it out in 2020. It was like, "Oh, what's this?" And they pop it in. They're like, "Oh, I think we should put it back in the time capsule." like, I don't think anyone should experience this shit. Like, good lord, man. It's trying to be cool. It's trying to be hip. It's trying to be sexy, and it doesn't achieve any of it. But somehow I found it oddly amusing and satisfying for just the cheesy goodness that it is, guys. I can't say that it makes a lot of sense, but it's cheesy fun, and I enjoyed it. I did, honestly, man. I mean, you do get here a commentary, you get the Projection Booth podcast, discuss American Rickshaw, then and now location footage, image gallery, and more. Just really great talking about the movie, the cheesy nuts of it, and just having fun. That's what a lot of these special features are about, man, because honestly, you cannot take this movie seriously. You cannot take it seriously. You can't even try to take it seriously, okay? Because it's just impossible. The movie wants to be taken seriously. It wants to be something very unique and interesting and memorable, but it comes off so not, man. I mean, God bless Sergio Martino. He tries to envision what an American stylized action thriller is, and he so fails, but he fails brilliantly. He really does, man. It's odd, makes no sense, but oddly charming. And this is just one of many that were done in the 80s that somehow, I don't know if they've survived exactly, but I got to admit that when you watch them, somehow you just sit there having a blast at just the weirdness and the cheesiness of it all. And you're like, God, I don't know if I would want to actually be there, but I'll watch it and I can laugh at it and I can have fun with it. And that's exactly what this is, man. What a wild and strange ride, but oh, they don't make them like this no more. That's for damn sure. American Rickshaw. And last but certainly not least, we have the Blu-ray of Alphabet City. Look at that with this really, really great limited slip, man. I really like the design on that. That's really cool, man. And on the backside there, very nice. And on the inside, all that wonderful, wonderful old school art for Alphabet City. At 19, they gave him the streets. Tonight, they want it all back. Oh, baby. Yes, indeed, man. Now, this edition actually comes from Fun City Editions. Now, this is another brand new physical media company that is putting out some very unique interesting physical media, kind of like Cauldron Films. I wanted to give it a little bit of love and see what all the hype was about. Now, Alphabet City is about Johnny. Now, Johnny runs the New York district of Alphabet City, and basically, he runs it. The mob lets him run it, and he runs the drug trade and the crime and everything that goes on there. Now, one day the mob says, "Hey, look, we have to burn down this building with these people in there. We don't care who lives, who dies, whatever. Burn it down." Johnny won't do it. Johnny says, "Fuck that. I'm not doing this." And so what ends up happening is they said, "Well, if you're not going to do this, then we have no use for you anymore. You're out. We're going to take you out. We're going to take everyone you love out and just call it a day. We can find your replacement tomorrow. We don't really care, man." And so now Johnny is completely on the run. He has got to fight off the mob and also protect the loved ones around him that are going to be hurt in the process. Now, this is a really great sort of, crime thriller on the run type of movie. Almost reminded me in a lot of ways of like Mean Streets or something, but more in the vein of like the MTV generation. And what I mean by that, and I mean no hatred when I say the MTV generation, but this movie feels very much influenced by the MTV world. Whether it's the synth pop soundtrack, whether it's sort of the slow motion making love scenes that feel like just out of like a Madonna video or something, even sort of the neon light cinematography that feels again just out of a regular old school 80s MTV music video. It feels very much influenced by the MTV culture. Again, that's not to say it's a bad movie, because it actually is really, really good. It just feels very much influenced by that world around it. But there's a lot going for this. I mean, first of all, the acting is really fantastic here. I mean, you have Vincent Spano, who does a really great job in the lead role playing Johnny. He's somebody who is in such a tough position, who wants to get out but is stuck. But when he makes the wrong choice, he realizes that everything around him is getting messed up. He plays tough, he plays vulnerable. He does really good with the action of being on the run and trying to avoid these people that are trying to kill him. Does a great job here. You also have a young Jamie Gertz in here as well. Of course, she was in Lost Boys and Lesson Zero. She's an awesome actress, plays a very small role in here. You have Michael Winslow from the Police Academy movies playing a drug dealer in this film. And so you go from drug dealer to police officer in Police Academy. Wow, man, what a very weird and interesting stretch for that guy, man. But he actually does really good in this movie, man. I mean, you also end up getting Kate Vernon, Kenny Marino, and many, many more. Really, really great actors in this piece. The acting is really, really great. They go out of their way to be very believable as far as these kind of kind-hearted but scummy people at the same time. And also, something I really like about this movie as well is it shows the sort of seediness of New York City back in the 80s. I gotta tell you, one of my favorite things of all time watching some of these old school movies, especially the ones from like the 70s or the 80s, is seeing New York City at a time when it was just like scum and villainy, like every single place you went, man. It was one of the dirtiest and grimiest places, and like one of the most dangerous. And this is before Rudy Giuliani came in and kicked all those people out, man. I mean, it was wild. And it's movies like this, or The New York Ripper, Basket Case, and a few other ones out there where I love the old school grimy world of New York City. I wouldn't want to live there, but god damn it is it fascinating, man. And the scummy and slimy human beings. Oh my god, man. It was a wild time in the world. And seeing it on cinema is just I kind of, maybe I wouldn't have wanted to live there, but I gotta tell you, man, I would have at least wanted to visit. I probably would have been like robbed and beaten and like and hooked on smack, but it might have been worth it. I don't know, man. It's just wild, dude. But I sort of like that. I like the griminess. I like the grittiness. I like the action of this guy Johnny, who just literally he's fighting for his life and survival. And I like the tension of that. I like the ticking time clock of when are these people going to catch up to him and how long can he survive the night on the run. I like that, and I like the action surrounding that. I think it's really well done. I think it's really good. I think it's a really solid action thriller from the 80s. It's got some really good vibes to it. I mean, the only downside to this is it feels a little long. Truth be told, it kind of feels a little long and a little drawn out. There are times when maybe it could have maybe cut things down a little bit more. It feels like they just kind of it felt like it went on for a little bit too long at times, but outside of that, the movie's really well done. Again, acting phenomenal. Action is really well done here. I love the synth pop soundtrack. I'm an 80s guy. I love 80s, so with a synth pop soundtrack, man, I'll eat that shit up any day of the week, man. I love that stuff. There is a lot going for this movie. It's one of these movies that honestly, I don't know if many people really know about, but I think it's one of those ones that when you see it, it really hooks you. And it really does, man. There's a lot going for this one, truly, man. And Fun City Editions did a good job here. I mean, you have here a new interview with the actor Vincent Spano, and he is awesome here. I mean, you're talking about the movie itself, his role, the old back in the day of New York City, the reception of the film, talks about a lot of really great stuff. Really wonderful interview there. You also have the theatrical trailer, the image gallery, a video essay by one of the filmmakers talking about the influences of this movie, and so much more. It is really, really solid, man. You know, like I said, it kind of reminds me of sort of the MTV generation of sort of Mean Streets, or even something like, I would say, like After Hours, I would say. Something like that. It felt very influenced by it. Again, I was pleasantly surprised by this one. I had never heard about it, but again, there's so many really great forgotten gems out there that still haven't been put on physical media. And it's nice when a company goes out of their way to release these and give them a chance for an audience to really find it. People like me, man. I really enjoyed this one, thought it was really well done. You might as well too. Give it a chance. You might be surprised. Not half bad. Alphabet City. And that will do it, ladies and gentlemen, for the Blu-ray pickup video for September of 2020. And quite the interesting stack this time around, dare I say. Some unique collector's editions, interesting titles, and a few fascinating surprises, dare I say. Not half bad this time around. Hope you enjoyed it, and definitely let me know what you picked up for September. I know it's been a while, but I am definitely interested to find out what you guys got, so definitely let me know. And now we are headed towards the October pickups, and that is going to be very, very unique. I am excited. I'll just give you guys a little bit of a hint as to what's coming. I am going to be showing off Vinegar Syndrome, Severin, Mill Creek, Kino Lorber, Arrow Video, Vestron, 88 Films, and so much more. A lot of horror, but it's kind of October. It was kind of a given, guys. But, I mean, some interesting retro, collector's editions, out-of-print love, a lot of really great stuff coming up for October. I cannot wait, so definitely stay tuned for that video. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Definitely give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, welcome. Check out the other Blu-ray pickup videos I've done. Blu-ray and DVD out and about videos I do every single week. movie hunting videos like Dollar Tree hunting videos. Definitely check those out. Movie reviews, live streams, and much, much more. If you're a lover of movies and physical media, hit subscribe and become part of the Film Fan Nation. I want to thank my really great subscribers. You guys are incredibly patient with me with these videos. Give me a lot of really great comments and feedback, liking the videos, subscribing. It really helps out the channel. I truly appreciate it. So thank you so much. So if you like how I talk about movies and physical media, definitely hit subscribe and keep up to date with everything I'm doing through Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. FilmFan108. Keep up to date with everything I'm doing, plus special pictures and videos I do from time to time on social media as well. Alright guys, this was a very unique trip into some very interesting media, and more to definitely come. Can't wait. And I will see you back next time for a brand new Blu-ray pickup video. Take care everybody, and as always, happy hunting.